Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to TestTube Plus. This is episode 4 of 5 on languages. Language is super important, and if you haven't seen our show before, we break up a topic into 5 different episodes so that we can all understand it a little bit better. And we've talked about how it affects your brain, where languages come from, and even how they live and die. But today we're going to talk about how you invent a new language, which surprisingly happens a lot. So, let's start with the brain, because that's where languages come from, right? The brain's language processors are super sophisticated. We can understand a lot of different things. We're amazing at patterns and understanding how those patterns fit together, but we're not perfect. A study that came out this month in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences looked at the crucial elements of sentences and tried to figure out how the brain puts them together. Turns out that we just take the important bits because the brain's really lazy. And it's kind of like those silly internet memes you've probably been sent where all the letters are jumbled up, but you can still read it. And that's because the brain isn't taking every letter and saying, okay, well, this is a B, and that's an O, and that's another O, so this is a K. That's the word book. It just looks at the word and kind of pulls the shape and puts it together in your brain. It does that automatically. It gets really good at it. The brain isn't taking every piece of every sentence either, which might blow your mind a little bit. So take this phrase. John threw out the old trash sitting in the kitchen. Grammatically correct, makes sense, get it. Now how about this one? John threw the old trash sitting in the kitchen out. Was that one harder to listen to? Of course it was, because the old trash was way far away from the word out. In the first sentence, John threw out the old trash. Oh, great. And then I learned that it was sitting in the kitchen. You're adding information. They're both grammatically correct, but they are also very different sentences, even though they're saying the same thing. We like the first one better because of what they called a lower dependency length. We want to make sure that language is easy to parse. The brain is good at patterns, but it also has to hold on to information while it's looking for the next bit in the pattern, like a memory puzzle with cards. Most languages have a dependency length minimization, or DLM. Essentially, the language, through usage, has evolved so that it puts all of the important stuff together. Otherwise, you're holding on to that first important word, in this case, threw out the old trash, that section, far, far away from kitchen and out, It's really far in that second sentence. So if we have to hold on to that for a long time, it's kind of taxing. It's easier to put the first word first and the second word and keep it all together, and it's less work for your brain. So all languages have some kind of DLM, even ones with lots of markings and annotations that denote meaning, like Korean or Turkish. Languages have constructions. This is something that has always baffled my mind, like the idea that linguists can look at something they've never seen before, a language they've never seen, and understand its construction because language is based on human. And human language all essentially follows a similar pattern. Things that are important get parsed, are made more efficient eventually through usage, and they end up having a DLM that is shorter. Try and remember that. Comes back later. Esperanto is a language that was invented in 1888 by Polish ophthalmologist Dr. J.R.R. Ludwig Zamenhof, who goes by L.L. Zamenhof. I would too if I had those two first names that are very confusing. He thought that the world was divided by their native languages, which there is a phrase called that says America and England, two countries divided by a common language. Essentially that history, politics, and the power of nation was all baked into their languages. Esperanto would become the world's second language, and then everyone would have a common tongue. It's an easy-to-learn language. It only takes a few months to study, which is 4 times faster than many languages, and estimated that between 100,000 and 2 million people actually speak Esperanto around the world. 1,000 of them speak it natively. That's crazy. Pasporta Servo is a network for Esperanto speakers, which many use to travel the world. It's like, oh, there's an Esperanto speaker in this country, in this city. I'm going there. I'm going to go hang out with them. Esperanto, weird, right? Now that's a language you may have heard of. That's an invented language or a made-up language. There are also others which you've probably heard of that people speak somewhat less, like Elvish, a language that was invented by J.R.R. Tolkien for The Lord of the Rings. He actually created a lot of languages. He was pretty baller at it. The Elven tongue is said to be inspired by a combination of Finnish and Welsh. And he worked on it from 1910 all the way up until 1973. He's even created different dialects for different groupings of elves. Wood elves speak different than Rivendell elves because, class. While Tolkien created parts of the languages pretty thoroughly, it doesn't actually have a complete grammar structure. So fans have been working on it ever since. You can actually go to elvish.org and talk to the Elvish Linguistic Fellowship if you want to learn more about speaking Elvish. Tolkien himself said that he did not have the urge to converse in Elvish, although it does sound nice now that we've got the movies. We've heard a lot of people speaking that way. But he did write poems in Elvish, which is kind of cool. There's another language, maybe you'd recognize it with my terrible pronunciation. Bortash bir jabludi rechkakuku nai. That was really bad, but that's Klingon. I'm just a petach. That's fine. KLI.org is the Klingon Language Institute. If you want to get some Klingon in you, that's cool. It's a neat language, obviously invented for Star Trek. Klingons were an alien race that they came upon, and they had their own language. So producers wanted to call on a professional linguist whose name was Dr. Mark Okrand, and he created an authentic and complete language just for the Klingon actors. He created this original language that wasn't based on anything. He even updated the language as actors mispronounced some of the words. So it was an evolving language, you could argue, as well. Mark Okrand's description of the language he created was published in 1985, and they even made the Klingon dictionary, which sold 300,000 copies. Fans today, speak it. I learned my terrible pronunciation of Bortash bir jabludi rechkakuku nai via a German guy who was wearing Klingon makeup and created his own Klingon lessons. You can find him on YouTube. It was pretty amazing. That means, by the way, revenge is a dish best served cold. One of my favorite Klingon proverbs. There's also a newer language that was made, fairly recently, Dothraki. If you watch Game of Thrones, you are familiar with Dothraki. It was created by David Peterson. He is part of the Language Created Society, which was founded only in 2007. It's an organization where people who invent languages as an artistic and intellectual hobby can come together and talk about it. When producers approached LCS, they asked for help creating Dothraki. They held an internal contest, and they selected Peterson's 180-page proposal, along with a dictionary and audio files on how to pronounce things. I wonder why they selected it, because it's awesome. In 2013, side note, just Game of Thrones side note, little side note here. 2013, 213 newborn girls in the U.S. were named Khaleesi. It's a Dothraki word, so who's to say it's not a real language? 213 people got the name. In 2013 as well, 1,315 newborn girls were named Arya. My friend Eric and Katie, they named their daughter Arya. What's up, guys? That's up from 273 people in 2011, by the way. In the end, as we use language, it changes, it evolves. We add new words, we lose old words, we change the meaning of words so they mean different things. We invent language as we're using it. It's really cool. And On Fleek is a really terrible example. I don't get it. Maybe I'm just too old. But the word was used first today in a Vine video, and it became a thing super fast, spread through the internet, boom everywhere. It's usually something in relation to eyebrows, whether they're on fleek or not. According to the Google Ngram search, which looks through all of their books and mentions, it showed up a lot in the early 1800s, and the word actually was sleek, but in Old English, the F is an S. Maybe you remember that from school. So maybe fleek came from sleek, but probably not. I think actually fleek is over now, so maybe this isn't the best example for TestTube Plus. But whatever, I'm old. Google Ngram is a super useful tool. If you're ever looking up languages, make sure you use that. It searches all the books they have on Google and all of the words in all of the books and tells you how old those words are, how long they've been being used. I looked up claustrophobia recently, which was coined in 1870, and you can see that on their graph. I looked it up for a recent D News episode. It was really cool. So if you end up looking up anything on the Ngram viewer, Let us know down in the comments. And if you ever made up a language like to talk to your BFF or whatever in school, make sure you tell us about that too. And make sure you subscribe so you get more TestTube Plus every day. Also check out our earlier episodes from this series on early languages, how they can affect your brain and make it bigger, how languages evolve and grow and sometimes die, and all sorts of other stuff. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. If you have any questions on science, come find me on Twitter. I'm at Trace Dominguez.